when we see all of the things that we could do, all of the tasks that we could do, when we look at all of the ideas that we could act on, all of the ways that we could build our schedule, and we choose it intentionally, then we are living intentionally. However, when we just let whatever is screaming the loudest get our attention and our energy, that is reactionary living. And that feels really heavy. It feels really busy. It feels really chaotic and really overwhelming because you're doing things all day long that don't contribute to your most important work.
Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become.
Hello and welcome to episode 258 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. This is our third week in our decluttering series for the month of April. In the first week, we chatted about physical decluttering items, because what you surround yourself with is either supportive to who it is you want to become, or it could be tying you to previous versions of you. In the second week, we went into our digital spaces and did the same thing. We evaluated what's going on in our digital lives, got rid of what we didn't need, and made it a supportive place to you. Because at the end of the day, your tech needs to support you, who you are trying to become, what you want to accomplish, and how you want to live. And so often we live at the mercy of our tech rather than intentionally choosing what gets our attention. This week, we have delved into decluttering in our heads. Now, this one seems a little bit abstract because there's not apps you can delete. There's not things you can take to Goodwill. It's all living in your head. However, every single thing in your head has an energy and it takes up space, real space. Even though I wouldn't be able to quantify that space, we know that it takes up space because brain space is a real thing. Your mental capacity is a real thing. And we know by the phenomena of decision fatigue that all of the things that we make decisions on or don't make decisions on hang out in our head and take up energy. So this is an important and often overlooked place of decluttering. However, I hope that as you have been noticing this week, this is an extremely worthwhile place to declutter, to look at intentionally the things, the tasks, the ideas that live in your head, and in connection to that, your commitments and your schedule that also hang out in your head. Because even if you never leave the house, but you've got a full schedule of calls every day, all of those calls that are on your schedule also take up space in your brain because it's somewhere you need to be, something you need to be prepared for. So even if you're not running around all the livelong day, your schedule is still a place that takes up space in your brain. And of course, even more so when you are running around all the livelong day, because then you've got, that travel time that takes up space. And I know for me, whenever I'm going from A to B, I'll even if I've been there a million times, I will map it just so that I can keep track of that time, because timing is something I'm very aware of. Timing takes up space in my head. So all of these things take up mental space. And let's run through a list so that you can really acknowledge these things that take up space in your head. So we have the to-dos, right? We've got all of the tasks. And whether or not you've written them down, hopefully you are in a routine or a rhythm of writing down your to-do list so that it doesn't have to live in your brain. If you aren't in that habit, I encourage you to start that habit because it will alleviate the weight in your head and the amount of things that you're like, oh yeah, I have to remember to do this. I have to remember to do that. So we have the tasks, we have ideas. We are made creative and ideas come to us. We get ideas about what to make for dinner or ideas about what project to start on or what conversation to have or to reach out to this person. We get ideas all the live long day. And these ideas can also sit in our brains and take up space until we give them the time and attention that they need. In addition to the ideas that are hanging out in your brain, you have decisions. These decisions that are unmade, or they're decisions that you made the choice, but you're still kind of waffling on it. Like, I said yes to that, but maybe I should call them back and say no. Or I decided I wanted this for dinner, but actually, I'm kind of thinking I want something else. So, when it's not a true 100% decision, it takes up space because you haven't actually fully 100% decided upon it. And when you have decided upon it, it's done. It takes up no more space in your brain. So that is a really powerful thing about actually making decisions rather than waffling on things. Then you have all of the other things on your schedule, and not just your schedule, but if you also manage other people's schedule, like children and a household schedule, then it's that schedule as well. What are you putting on the schedule? What are you allowing to be put on the schedule that fills up your day, fills up your time, fills up your mental space? And the last one to consider, goes hand in hand with scheduling, is time. Time can take up space in your head, and it can be mindfully managed as well. So I just gave you this big long list of all of the things that can take up space in your brain, that can cause it to feel cluttered, that can cause you to feel chaos and overwhelm and decision fatigue. And now what? First of all, I invite you to go through this exercise and to do it on a regular basis. Because as you go throughout life, you get more tasks to do, you get more ideas, you get more commitments or opportunities for commitments, more things will go on your schedule. And so this is an ongoing thing. Just like making sure that your physical environment stays nice and your digital environment doesn't get crazy, your mental clutter is also something that will quickly delve into chaos if you allow it. So, the trick here is to establish a routine that you continually, on a regular basis, clear out the mental clutter. You do that first by getting clear on what's there already. What's in your head? What are the tasks that you have to do? What are your commitments? What's on the schedule? What ideas do you have floating around? What decisions need to be made? Get it all out on paper. One sheet of paper, get it all down. Because once you get it down, like there's this magic thing that happens that it actually alleviates that weight in your head simply by writing it down. It's as if until you write it down, these things have no choice but to live in your brain. And then once you write it down, you've given them a new home. You've given these things a new home. So the weight and the space that they take up in your head is gone or is alleviated. So get them all down on paper. And then you get to intentionally and mindfully go through this list: the tasks, the ideas, the commitments, the things on your schedule, the decisions you need to make. Go through each one and ask yourself, is this something that is important enough for me to give my time and attention to? And that can be tricky because we want to do it all. We want to take care of everything. We want to act on every idea. We want to take care of every task. We want to do all of it, but we can't do all of it. And trying to do all of it just leads to overwhelm and chaos and being overworked, and that's not good for you or anyone around you. So, mindfully and intentionally go through this list. And I would even say, if you go through this list with the vision of who it is you want to become in mind, you can ask yourself, would this version of me, the person I want to become, would this version of myself give time to this? Would this version of myself do this? When it comes to the decisions, what would what choice would that version of you make? Then, if you do it with that view, with that perspective, your actions are automatically aligned with who it is you want to become. And you've started to approach your task list, your day, your ideas, your decisions as the version of you who you want to become, which is hugely powerful because we want to be that person. We want to have the life that that person would have. We want to engage with the world that in a way that that person would engage with the world. And so when we engage with our tasks, with our ideas, with our decisions, our time, and our schedule, if we engage with those things as the version of us who we want to become, then we have just made huge steps towards being that person because you've started to show up as that version of you. And there are going to be things on that list that that version of you just wouldn't deal with. There are going to be things on that list that that version of you would know that is not worth my time. That's not worth my effort. It can be deleted or delegated, or we can just forget about it. And that's going to be fine because you can't get to everything anyway. So you might as well choose the most important things, the most impactful things. If something's got to slide, don't let the most important things slide. Then, once you've gotten clear on your list, the things that are most important, the things that you're absolutely going to do and follow through on, the things, the ideas that you want to act on, the decisions that you want to make, then you get to make actions towards those things. You get to make progress towards those things. Put those most important things on your calendar, on your schedule. You've already decided that they belong there, that they are worth your time and your energy and your effort. So now put them in a place where you will actually do them, where you will actually make progress on them, where you will actually move forward on them. I had a conversation recently with a friend, and we talked a long time about intentional versus reactionary living. And I knew when we had that conversation, I had this podcast episode in mind because this is really the crux of it. When we see all of the things that we could do, all of the tasks that we could do, when we look at all of the ideas that we could act on, all of the ways that we could build our schedule, and we choose it intentionally, then we are living intentionally. However, when we just let whatever is screaming the loudest get our attention and our energy, that is reactionary living. We are reacting in response to whatever the environment or the people around you are doing. Whatever happens to come up, whatever's screaming the loudest, when we are reacting to that rather than choosing intentionally, we are in a state of reactionary living. And that feels really heavy. It feels really busy. It feels really chaotic and really overwhelming because you're doing things all day long that don't contribute to your most important work. And so then, because your most important work never gets done, you never feel like you're making progress and you feel like you're just constantly in this state of overwhelm and chaos and you're powerless to it. And that is an awful place to be. But when you can look at your list and you can choose intentionally, that is the opposite. That is a powerful place to be because then you're choosing where your time goes, what gets your energy and what gets your effort. So when you've gotten to this place where you are intentionally living, when all of these things, your tasks and your ideas and your decisions and your time and your schedule are in alignment with who it is you want to become, the next trick is to stay there. The next trick is to make sure that these things don't get out of hand, that you don't delve into chaos, that you stay in control of your task list and your decisions and your ideas and your schedule. Because when you feel in control of all of that, then you get to choose intentionally. And then you get to direct your path. You get to choose the way you go. You get to choose the way you spend your time. Now, of course, there are going to be things that you'd rather not do that maybe fall in the obligatory category, but the person that you want to become would do them because that's simply part of it. This isn't just about like doing only the fun things and none of the, housework. This isn't just about only doing what you want to do. This is about living intentionally, not being at the mercy of other people's schedule, not being at the mercy of an endless list of things that you feel like you have to do, but maybe aren't actually necessary. This is about looking at all of these things and mindfully, intentionally deciding where your time and energy goes. Sure, your time and energy is going to go towards other people and the things that they want to do because that's what being part of a community is. There are going to be things that maybe you wouldn't actually want to do, but contributes to something bigger. There was a service project that the school put on. I think it was maybe last fall or something. They were tying blankets. They were tying fleece blankets. So I was cutting these fleece pieces of fabric, preparing them to be tied by the students. I didn't want to spend my time cutting fleece, and I wanted to be the kind of person who contributed to a service project. So even though I didn't want to spend my time cutting fleece, because the version of me who I wanted to become would contribute to a service project, that made it so that I did actually want to spend my time cutting fleece because I wanted to be that version of me. So it's not just about doing what you want to do. It's about doing things from the perspective and in the light of being the version of you that you want to become. And the more of your day that you spend engaged in your life from this person, from this version of you, the more you will become that person and the faster it'll happen too. Because making decisions like that person, behaving like that person, doing the tasks and reaching out to people and whatever it is that you do in the way that that person would do it, that's the real process of becoming. That's when it stops being this fantastical version of you in your journal and starts being a lived experience. It's through your actions, it's through what you actually do every day that either keeps you in the version of who you have been or steps you up into the next version of who you want to be. And it comes down very, very critically to the things that you choose to spend your time and energy and effort on, which means that it comes down to all of these things that tend to live in your head. It's the tasks, the ideas, the decisions, your schedule, how you spend your time. Because a life is made up of time, and it's made up of the actions, the things that you did with that time. That's what a life is made up of. So if you are intentional about the way you spend your time, then you are living intentionally, and that means you can direct where your life goes. You can direct the course of it by your actions. And the best way to do that is to do it from the vision of who it is you want to become. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will be in your email tomorrow with an exercise to wrap up this week. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. I totally love you. Bye for now.